ready this morning. And I was like, oh man, we got to do the podcast today. And I was like, what did I wear?
What did you wear last time, right? Yeah, that's the tricky part. I had that thought myself, so I went just a plain old white t-shirt. I'm keeping it classy. Keeping it classy today. All right. Tank, you ready? Ba-ba-ba-bum, some music. Ba-ba-ba-ba. And here we are. All right, so this is the third attempt, right? And it's only taken us 10 minutes to get set up.
That's true.
Which is pretty good, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it's also the first summer episode that we've done.
Yeah.
The kids are out. My kids are upstairs outside doing something. How was traffic this morning?
It was all right, I guess.
Not better?
Not yet. I think there's still some schools that are getting out. So next week, I'm really looking forward to next week.
Nice. That's always nice. Yeah. Driving home is amazing. I drove through Downingtown, on 113, past all the schools, the Lionville and the elementary and the high school right there, which is usually a shit show.
Yeah.
Just
right
through.
I didn't realize how backed up 401, even 401 gets.
Yeah.
I was like,
no doubt. No doubt. So this is Shorts and Suits.
You did it.
I've even got that right now. We're getting dialed in here. This is going to be all right. And like I said, we're kind of we've passed the introduction stage now. I think we both told our stories to an extent, as much as we need to right now, and we're moving into maybe some real content and getting some. Some guests on eventually, which is now that this kind of seems to knock on wood work.
I think we're at the point. The biggest issue was the technology.
Exactly.
Neither one of us are really too tech savvy. I think now that we've got that down, now it's just a matter of progressing, talking about kind of what's going on,
right?
Day-to-day stuff. And
your sock game is amazing.
Oh man, I tried.
Can we see those socks?
I think we can get them. Got to get them to match the tie. And,
Is that the trick? I'm going barefoot.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
almost look like Shaq feet.
You see those? Those are disgusting. Those are gross. So the NBA finals are possibly wrapping up.
It seems like a good possibility.
Right.
That this is it for the year.
It's disappointing.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with how good the Warriors are.
Yeah.
But I am disappointed in the show that we're getting for the championship.
As a fan, it's no fun.
No, but I mean, at least I guess the last couple games haven't been the blowout that the first one was.
Yeah.
But it's still, the Cavs in the last one were kind of leading going into the very end.
Before Kevin Durant hit that three, I think there was 47 seconds left. I mean, they were up, right? So it was close, but again, that 3-point shot is kind of a game changer.
What do you think? So I heard this argument brought up the other day, which kind of goes against my own argument of how bad this is for the NBA. But somebody on some sports radio show made a really good point of kind of nobody really complained when it was the Celtics and the Lakers every year.
Yeah.
And that was a really good point. And I don't know if it's. I think it's valid because I didn't. That was the matchup you wanted to see.
Yeah.
Right? But I think that, I don't know because it was a long time ago, but just kind of, I think the battle to get there was better, more entertaining. Do you know what I mean?
I also think that, not to say that they weren't super teams, but the caliber of the people that, let's say, the Celtics had on their team.
Right.
Or even if we look at the Lakers, right, there was a couple good players, but none of those players were with other teams.
Right.
They were. Let's all get together and play together.
They were built the way we all brought up.
It just happened to be that their draft picks.
They did a great job.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So it wasn't. None of the players were out. So at least not that we know of, right? I think that's something also is a big.
Well, free agency was probably a lot. I didn't pay attention to free agency in the 80s. You know what I mean? I just turned it on, but got up and switched the channel. You know what I mean? The old from 3 to 5 to 8 or whatever it was.
Oh man, Atari came on channel 3.
Exactly. Exactly. But I think it was a valid point. It kind of made me think. but I think that the drama and the drama was there. They were always great series.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I think that the teams were built in the traditional way
Yeah.
that we're used to, as opposed to a bunch of guys getting together,
A
down
bunch of friends, like they were
down in the islands,
Yeah,
saying,
exactly.
hey, where can we all go next year
Yeah,
to win a
yeah.
championship?
I
I think
think
that,
even LeBron came out. I don't know if it was an interview or article or something, but he was like, "Yeah, if I ever own a team, like I'm just gonna build this super team. I'm just gonna."
yeah. I mean, and that makes sense
Yeah.
from that perspective.
Which is, from a fan's perspective, it kind of ruins it because it takes the whole competition part out of it.
Absolutely.
It's kind of, look, if you have the money to pay these guys,
Right.
and you can get the best players,
Yep.
there's your championship.
Well, and that's, you look at baseball, right? You look at
Yeah.
the Yankees, you look at the Red Sox didn't hit that stretch until they started paying for players,
Exactly.
right? And
Yeah.
baseball's been truly kind of a free market enterprise, to say the least, right? Say, look, if you've got the money and you can spend it and you win,
Exactly.
God bless you. And I don't have a problem with that per se. You just don't, maybe you just don't hear of baseball players kind of doing what
Yeah.
they do, right? But when all of a sudden the Yankees add another guy,
Yeah.
it's just the Yankees. So
maybe we should start a GoFundMe for the Phillies.
maybe.
Right?
Although
more money.
I was in Atlanta last week,
Oh, how was
and they
that?
went
Yeah.
they went 2, I think, out of 3. They got their asses kicked.
Yeah,
the game after I went to.
Yeah, that was the one they ran out of relievers, right?
Yeah,
They had
yes.
was it Blanco?
Yeah, it
pitching?
was a mess.
Yeah.
Right? They
Yeah.
called me, but I said no. And but it was. I'll tell you what. If you get an opportunity, it was my first time spending any real time in Atlanta. Boots on the ground, kind of able to walk around. I played the Falcons quite a few times there, where you fly in, you go to the hotel.
Yeah.
Half the team goes to the Gold Club or Club Cheetah or whatever it is, right? The other half does whatever the guys do that have families. Well, not even that sometimes, but you go play and you fly out, right?
Yeah.
So this was it's a great town. The traffic is insane, like epic.
Did you go to the classic Waffle House?
I didn't go to the classic Waffles House because I found this place that had chicken and waffles that was
Alright.
very, very close.
Okay.
And I ate more chicken and waffles than I should have. There's no
Yeah.
doubt. So I've been eating super, super healthy,
Yeah.
and I'm really proud of kind of the way that I've changed my eating habits.
Yeah.
But this was just nothing. I had no self
What did
control.
you on that subject? What were you walking around at when you played?
At my biggest, I was 320.
What are you walking around? What are you at
The
now?
last time, about a month and a half ago, I was 270.
Yeah.
So, and I kind of lived in that kind of 295 to 305 world for most of the 10 to 12 years, 12 years that I've been retired.
Okay.
But I just kind of said, you know what?
Yeah.
I gotta feel better. It was one of those trips to the doctor where you get the, for the first time in my life, my cholesterol was high, my blood pressure was high. My body, I felt like shit. And then he was like, you gotta change some things, you gotta exercise, right? But when you feel like shit and you're overweight and you're out of shape and you have terrible knees and terrible shoulders, it's kind of this vicious cycle, right? So at the end of the day, really the choice was, I gotta change my diet, right? I can't outwork the food anymore.
Yeah.
Like I used to be able to do, right?
Yeah.
So there was kind of that realization of, fuck, I gotta do it. And it's not actually, to be honest with you, it's a bit of a pain in the ass because I have no clothes. Everything that I own is massive.
Yeah.
And now now I gotta go spend money to buy new clothes. I bought a new belt.
That's why I refuse to lose weight.
I like
don't
it.
want to
I
spend
think
the money on a new wardrobe at this point.
It's fiscally conservative.
Exactly,
And I like
right?
that. I can appreciate it. But so I was like, all right, well, they'll bury me in that suit, right? So it was kind of like, I just needed to do something. And so Mary Kate, my wife, it all really started when she started working at the witch doctor's place.
Yeah.
Right? So she works so my wife is the office manager of a natural healing place. I jokingly call Trisha the witch doctor.
Yeah.
She's not a witch doctor. But it's all about kind of healing your body naturally and taking herbs and natural supplements to remove all the toxins that we put in our body. And it's actually kind of created this bizarre revolution in my house where dude, I'm using this natural deodorant and you can't smell me. I mean, it's amazing. It honestly, So I shit you not, we're all over the place right now. I used to use like Mitchum, right? For the last probably 10 years, right? Because it worked, right? I wasn't gonna sweat, didn't stink.
Yeah.
You know, for a while I was wearing suits,
Yep.
which this time of year definitely require heavy duty
Yeah.
antiperspirant. But like when you look at what they put in
That's a good
deodorant,
point, yeah.
right? You're
Yeah.
putting aluminum under your arms to clog the pores to keep everything in, right?
Yeah.
The sweat is made to like flush the body, right? To get it out of you. So you're basically like trapping all of that under your arm. So here's what's really weird, and I've done absolutely zero scientific study at all, obviously, because I'm not a scientist, nor do I have the time or energy to study armpits. But, so I got off of the Mitchum, and Mary Kate found this deodorant, just a plug, maybe, I don't know if they're on social media, but if they are, send me some new stuff, some free stuff, I'm almost out. And it's called Native, right? And it smells, the one that I'm using right now is coconut. It's for women. I'm going to get a more manly type scent, but
coconut's not bad.
it's not bad. It smells good. It makes me hungry. But
there you go.
But the really interesting thing has been, I don't fucking smell at all anymore.
Really? I always thought that like kind of the natural stuff.
It's insane. Now either it's like that fat-free frozen yogurt on Seinfeld where they're lying to me, right? Or this shit works. So like, I mean, we were joking about it the other day because she uses it. I started using it. Like I go to the gym and I sweat. I mean, don't get me wrong, I sweat, but I don't smell, right? And I don't know what's in it. You know, I've never really, but it's like natural. And I was so.
We're gonna put this to the test. Culturally, I sweat quite a bit, right? So, who is it? Trisha.
Trisha, yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to go see Trisha.
Absolutely.
Because I know he's mentioned her to me.
It's
before.
amazing.
So definitely gotta go. Definitely gotta go see her. Yeah.
And then, dude, I'll show you the name, the brand of deodorant. I don't know where she gets it. Mary Kate can tell you, but it's literally like, it's amazing. So that went way right or left, depending on which way you look at it. But like, so this is kind of what I started really thinking about what I was putting in my body.
Right.
Right. And I've had these kind of weird, and we talked about it last time about like these, like, you know, kind of ups and downs in my employment, my career, and all that stuff. So like, I've been looking and learning and reading everything and listening to everything I can. And it's something that's really interested me. The human body, after what I went through physically, the human body is an amazing machine. Right, you know what I mean, and when you look at what we put into it, I don't think we're doing it any justice. And I think that's why people don't feel very good anymore, right? And we're so heavily medicated, and we're so always looking at, because we don't take care of this incredible machine. I mean, look, I've had, you know, infections and surgeries, and I've torn my body to pieces, right? But it's always answered the bell, to say the least, right? And which is pretty amazing. But I also, over that course of time, I put a shit ton of chemicals in me. You know, I used to joke about how many painkillers I would take, right? It was like funny, like better health through chemistry. Like I was all about it. Man. When you're making 7 figures,
that's true.
It makes sense, right? Absolutely. So I think that it's been an interesting kind of, like I said, it's been an interesting journey. But so basically what happened was I started basically just cutting back. I stopped eating after 7 o'clock, which is horrible. You can't do that right now. We know that, right? You got to put the feed back on at about 8:30. But I started cutting back what I eat. I stopped using, as simple as it sounds, creamer in my. You know, I used to drink. I still drink probably 4 to 5 cups of coffee a day. But when you're throwing creamer in that thing all the time, right? It just all those little things add up, right? I don't drink.
It's just being kind of cognizant of what you're doing.
Wait a minute, did we wake you up?
Tank's here. He's sleeping on the floor, belly down on the cold floor.
He's like, looks very perturbed right now. Huh. Go back to bed.
Tank, you want to come
on,
take the spot?
It's about damn time you asked. Come on. Come on.
You can do it.
Oh, he's like, damn it, I'm old. What do you think? What leg are we going to use? What leg are we going to use?
Come on, Tank. Here we go.
Give me one. Oh, big fella.
Nice. There we go. Face the camera.
Perfect. Good job.
High five.
Good job.
Welcome to the show, Tanker.
Exactly. All right, now we're good.
There we go.
Thank you. You stink. That's awesome. So, that's kind of how it started, right? It started there with kind of this idea of, you know, sitting and talking to Tricia a few times, and Mary Kate really getting into it. So Mary Kate had, this is probably a huge HIPAA violation, but she had kind of Lyme's disease.
Okay.
At least she thought it was Lyme's. Doctors couldn't help her. Actually, her friend had Lyme's. It's just a long, long story, and I don't know, maybe that's what we're going to talk about today. And no one could treat it, right? They're all triathletes, right? So they're all super active, super healthy. None of the doctors, none of the chemicals, none of the pharmaceuticals, it's just a Band-Aid, right? It doesn't really treat it.
Yeah.
And so this kind of, what Tricia does is goes in and treats what's really happening with natural. I mean, think about medicine, right? Think about the history of people, like.
Right. So she basically, what this lady Trish is doing is, traditional medication is just basically saying, all right, we're going to kind of block your body from receiving any,
Right.
you know,
Like think about when you get a cold,
pain or
right?
something.
When you get a cold, right?
Yeah.
There's no real cure for it,
Right,
right? You
yeah.
take some Sudafed,
Yeah.
it gets
Pay attention.
it gets you
Yeah.
it gives you whatever the daytime Sudafed wakes you up.
Right.
The nighttime Sudafed
Yeah.
puts you to sleep,
Yeah.
but all it does is dry your nose
It's
out.
not actually fixing anything.
Exactly.
It's just, yeah.
It's just fixing it for 6 hours or 12
Right.
hours, right? So
Yeah.
that's what we do. And all those things are harmful for your body because they keep your body from doing what it's supposed to do. But when you look at like ancient, like Chinese medicine or Native American, you know what I mean? Like it's all stuff that you can
Yeah.
grow in your backyard,
Exactly.
right? Or
Yeah.
find, in the dirt.
Yeah.
So it's been really cool. So I've said, so that's really what it, I don't know how we ended up here, but that's really what kind of got me, started down this path of kind of putting myself back together, I guess is the best way to put it. And so since then, since January, I've lost about somewhere around 30-35 pounds.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
And
What's the goal? Like, do you have a
the goal is
or it
250,
just
man. The
okay.
goal is 250. And
Ah.
I don't know though, like I took a picture when Jackson graduated from the 5th grade, which is unnecessary, but we can talk about that in a minute. And after the graduation celebration for the 5th grade, this is an epic achievement to leave the 5th grade apparently.
True.
I got a couple pictures as a family, and I was like, God, like I don't want to look sick. Do you know what I mean? But I do think, to be this size at this age and not needing to be this size is not necessary. So that's kind of I don't know how the hell we got here or where we're going with it. But
All right. Well, all right. From Brandon's armpit,
yeah, we started talking about.
let's go back to LeBron.
Yeah, let's get back to basketball.
Somehow we started from basketball. Right. So game 4 is tonight.
It is tonight.
Predictions?
I think the Cavs win tonight.
You think so?
I think so. I think that there's some sort of. I think LeBron keeps the ball the entire game by himself.
Okay.
And outscores the Warriors. I don't know. I have no. I want. That's what I want.
Yeah. Yeah.
But realistically, Golden State's just too much.
Yeah. It's just I don't like. Golden State is a very, very, very good team.
God damn, they
They're
are
ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean the addition of KD.
Yeah. I thought it would be like a learning curve, right?
Yeah.
So even like the Heat went through it, right? It was
Yeah.
kind of, all right, let's figure out how to play together.
Yeah.
All right. It just seems to just work for them, right? So it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens as far as this game. I think that's tonight, right? At like 8 or 9 or whatever.
Depending on when we actually get this out to you,
Yeah.
it may have been fucking 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. Yeah.
So that brings up an interesting point though, right? Is I do think that as much as I've kind of banged on the Warriors and the NBA, and this idea of the super teams, I respect the fact that those guys with that much talent and those egos can play together.
Yeah.
Because
That's what I'm
basketball
talking
is
about,
a diva game, right? It can be a diva's game, right? And especially these days, I think that when you look at that was, I guess, rewinding to last year, you go when KD goes there, you're all right. There's only one ball, right? That's what you heard from all the analysts, right?
Yep.
There's only one ball.
Yeah.
Good job, man. I like the ball. He likes basketball. So he will pop a basketball in about 30 seconds.
Nice.
It's pretty impressive. One time when we were in South Carolina, he killed 3 basketballs in one day. Didn't you? In one day. There may have been a volleyball in there too. I'm a big fella. But I do think that is, it's impressive. I mean, look, it is impressive.
Yeah.
Like they have literally said, okay, we're gonna make it work.
Yeah.
And I again, you know, all the negatives and all the kind of shit that I've talked about where the NBA is, I think if you step back and you look at those things, right, that's really, really hard to do.
Yeah, I agree. Especially with it's like, you know, like Paul George, right? So there was some statistic where if he made like NBA All Team or whatever,
Yeah.
he was gonna make a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
Right. So for that guy going into the year, if I was Paul George, I would have said, look, I don't care if we win or lose. I need the ball every time.
He was like looking at me like he was so excited to talk about Paul George, weren't
Paul
you?
George, man.
Yeah, I just think, you were very into. You were like, man, yeah, Paul George. But yeah, so I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, that is.
Yeah.
So yeah, so my pick, I think the Golden State wins the series. I would hope that tonight or whatever night, tonight, yes, because it is tonight.
Yeah.
I hope the Cavs win one game to extend it a little bit, but.
All right, so for a second, let's talk about. I think the Warriors sweep this thing tonight. I think it's over.
Okay.
Right? What are the ramifications?
Way to go out on a ledge.
Yeah. What are the ramifications for the actual NBA, though? Right.
Well, I think
from a fan's perspective, do you really even want to watch it anymore?
No.
Like I think me going into the season, you kind of knew, all right,
right.
Like, it's going to be Cleveland and the Warriors.
Right.
And throughout the season, there was some, all right, maybe the Spurs come out, or maybe the Celtics look good at some point, but you kind of knew, all right, they're not beating the Cavs, right? Then the finals start, and you already know, like we can fast forward this.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really, nobody's paying attention to this stuff. It's just going to be Cavs and Warriors. So now the matchup everybody wants to see, and it ends up being completely one-sided. Right?
Yeah.
As a fan, I don't know if I really want to watch.
Right. I mean, you're the NBA fan. I mean, I've watched the first half of Game 2 and Game 3.
Yeah.
And that's as far as I can make it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And like if they were, and it used to, I am. Like, I will watch the World Series. I don't follow baseball, but I'll watch the World Series. Yeah. I will watch the NBA Finals. I love hockey, but I don't watch all 82 games because it's not mind-numbing and it's terrible on TV.
Yeah, I can't watch hockey.
But I'll watch the Stanley Cup Finals. To me, are one of the greatest competitions that there are in the world. I mean, those guys are amazing athletes. It's a different culture. It's a different world. Yeah. And I mean, you see those guys, like, they'll go out and play with broken faces.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a level of toughness when those guys get to the finals that is.
And that's what I think the NBA lost at some point.
Yeah, there's no toughness anymore.
There's no toughness. It's a diva league, right?
Yeah.
It's all just kind of flopping and, I got fouled and this and that. And there's no, back when Charles Oakley or Rodman.
Yeah, no, God, yeah.
Like it was a physical type of basketball, and that's what I think the league's missing.
Yeah, and the competition, and I think we may have talked about it on the last one, but like this idea of those teams that Jordan had, that era, like they had to beat the Pistons and the Knicks, and you know what I mean, and it was a grind through the playoffs. Like you would get a 7-game series in the playoffs, so you would get a 6-game series.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whereas
sweeping.
Right. Whereas like when you look at where basketball is right now, whether they get swept or not tonight, or the Warriors win in 6 or 5, whatever. I think the rest of they got to figure, because the rest of the league is literally. I mean, the Sixers, you hear it all the time here. Like this process, right? Which is absolutely, I hate using that fucking word now. In any sense. Yeah. Like I don't even try and, I went to found the thesaurus, and I was like, what are some other fucking words for process? Because it drives me nuts.
Yeah.
But the Sixers have basically admitted, we're building for when LeBron
There's been
retires.
a couple teams that are basically doing that. They're saying, look, we're just waiting for LeBron to retire.
It's crazy. Like I don't get that, and it is a shame, and it shouldn't be like that. I think that's the whole thing is getting kind of skewed the wrong way, and you can't. The idea of front running and I don't know, tanking for draft picks, and that's the other thing I think the NBA has to do is they have to change their damn draft system.
I agree.
Fucking lottery?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Yeah. Right? The Celtics got the #1 pick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And they were in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's that. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what the NBA as far as that kind of stuff's doing. A lot of stuff that they do doesn't make sense to me.
No.
As far as how they kind of run stuff, it just I don't know. It seems like I mean teams that are they basically have no choice at this point but to sit back and wait for LeBron to retire. But then it's great. All right, LeBron retires. Like, what do you do with this?
Right.
With the Warriors? Like,
Yeah. Those guys are all
we
relatively
even longer,
young.
right?
I know
Yeah,
they're
so
relatively young.
yeah.
I don't know.
I think the Sixers or whoever, the Celtics, needs to draft somebody for the sole purpose of taking LeBron James out. Not but let me explain, right? So when I say that, somebody's like,
Tom
all right, just
Hardy,
hire,
like
just
Nancy
hire like a
Kerrigan,
dude,
right?
just
Exactly.
take him out, right? You can get somebody that is, if they're active enough, let me see if I can get LeBron to foul out of the
Right.
game. Or just get him mentally out of the game. Or, you know,
Mm-hmm.
so that he's shown that he has that,
Yeah.
he can kind of
Right.
drop the ball on that, right?
Yeah.
So I would focus on if I can find a player that can do that.
Right.
Paul George. I think the Pacers, in my opinion, throughout the Eastern Conference Finals, the Pacers were the closest team
Yeah.
as far as showing that they could probably beat the Cavs.
And
And a lot of
yeah.
it was just Paul George.
Right.
Just kind of getting in.
Yeah. What I think the Cavs, if you when you look at the two teams, the Cavs are the lesser of the two, right?
Yeah.
LeBron is great, is amazing, maybe the best to ever play, or at least one of the best to play the game, but they're beatable,
Yeah.
right? Like I what's crazy, and maybe we've heard it on the out of the West, but like
Yeah.
to me, if you're in the East, right, exactly, like you put together a good physical team, you put together a team
Yeah.
that can shoot the three, whatever, right? But I think that, like, to hear the Sixers say that we're building for, you know, that rubs me the wrong way. And again, I think that in the big picture, the league needs to address some of this stuff and figure out a way to take care of it. And I don't know how they do it. I really don't. It may be, you know, they don't want to. They already have some sort of like soft cap with a luxury tax on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
without putting a true hard cap on it, which is what they did in the NFL.
What's weird, because, like, all right, so Kevin Durant goes to the Warriors, or when LeBron went to Miami, and, you know, I think it was a couple of years ago, I want to say it was like Dwayne Wade was trying to go to the Clippers, and the
Yeah.
league was basically like, all right,
Yeah,
no,
you're right.
So,
That's crazy. I'd forgotten
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that.
so it's interesting. I don't know who's running the show up there, but
Me neither.
there's definitely some issues.
Me neither. That's no, it's interesting. I had forgotten about that.
Yeah.
I had forgotten. All right, so
Yeah. So
Basketball.
basketball's on tonight. Yeah.
All right.
We'll see
and maybe
how
it's
that goes.
over. Depends
Yeah.
on how long it takes me to get this fucking thing put on the internet. Maybe over a month.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe
LeBron will be retired.
it may be it may be football season right now. I have no
Yeah,
idea.
exactly.
But it is, like I said earlier, so it's the first day of summer, and
Yeah.
technically for the Downingtown area kids,
Yeah.
which my children are. So you grew up in this area,
Yeah.
minus your little jaunt to Pakistan that we
Yep.
covered before, which is a lot different, I'm assuming, than Chester County.
Yes. Yeah.
What did you do in the summertime what did you do? I mean, what was
Man,
what give me some insight.
Summertime in the Kokar household.
Yeah.
Good times, man. So we used to, I mean, my brothers and I were very competitive, right?
Right.
We still are to a certain extent. But we used to just fight, man. We used to argue and we would just fight, like to the point where we would even wrestle, like in the living room, right? So I grew up in this little townhouse. And at one point, like my aunt and uncle and my two cousins from Pakistan moved over here, right? So there was 10 of us now in this little, it was like
No
a
way.
3-bedroom townhouse, right? Yeah.
So you guys obviously shared rooms
Oh,
even
yeah.
without your aunt, uncle,
Yeah.
and cousins.
Yeah. So we would literally, we would do stuff like we had a living room and there's this table that we used to have. We still have it, like this little coffee table, right?
Right.
We would take the coffee table out of the way and we would kind of make like a wrestling ring and say, all right, let's
That's
let's
awesome.
do this, right? So we would wrestle, and then obviously that wrestling is one of us would get a little bit too aggressive,
Right.
or say something,
Yep.
and then all of a sudden that turns into a real fight. Now there's something breaks or whatever.
I love it.
We didn't really, my parents were huge on not letting us play video games, right?
Right.
So there was like, all right, go outside and play. But then when we would go outside, it was they don't cross the street, like,
Right, yeah.
So it's like, what do you want us to do here? Like, just,
Oh, that's awesome.
But we used to play video games all the time, and,
What was so
we
you're
would have like an hour. My mom would just say, all right, you can play for an hour.
Right.
And she would literally come after that hour and turn the video. Like we had like a Sega Genesis.
I was gonna say, what was the system that you guys got?
See, we had Atari when we were kids, like in Pakistan and stuff too. But I think Sega Genesis was probably the first one that we were like, all right, now we're cool.
Sonic the Hedgehog,
Yeah,
like that
yeah,
stuff.
Sonic the Hedgehog. We liked. I mean, me and my brothers have always liked like sports games, right? So like the NBA Live or even Madden, like
Right.
it was John Madden actually on
On the
right?
cover.
So yeah, I mean, we used to play, play games or just hang out and
Right.
listen to music, go play outside. We used to play basketball all the time.
Right.
Play have a catch for the football,
Right.
things like that.
What is the see that's where I was. I'm not like for me like I love living here, but I grew up in a place where summer there's a lot of shit to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's one of the things. Like, it is hard having 3 kids of my own, right? Where like I could ride my bike anywhere, I could ride a skateboard, I could get places that I needed to get without my parents. And it was a different time when people didn't freak out when their kids were out of contact for 15 minutes, right? Like I do now.
There was no cell phone.
Yeah,
no
cell
phone.
Oh God, no.
Kid,
Dude,
so
my parents would drop us off at the beach at like 8 o'clock in the morning with $5.
They would know. They knew like where we were.
Right.
So like in the back of our neighborhood was this like massive field. Right. We used to call it the pit. There's plenty of stories about the pit.
I'm sure.
So the pit had like a sewer that ran along the outside of it. This is how much of an asshole.
Like a sewer or like a drainage?
Like a drainage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Before you start saying you're crawling around
my
the
older
sewer.
brother, so we used to kind of play pranks on
Right.
each other.
Oh,
We found that my older brother's kind of like the king of really good pranks.
Nice.
So
That's what an older brother should be.
I'll give you 2 stories that will kind of sum up. If you don't know my brother, you'll say, all right, I know the type.
The guy, right.
So this is probably maybe like 3rd or 4th grade. I get a letter in the mail. Okay, in the mail. Like nobody knows where.
Right.
I get a letter.
The 3rd or 4th grade, right?
From Bruce Wayne. The Bruce Wayne. Okay? Now, again, we live in a townhouse in Malvern, like across from Great Valley High School. So I get a letter from Bruce Wayne. And it's written out to me, and I'm like, oh man, Bruce Wayne, I'm super excited. I'm like, man, this is pretty cool. This is Bruce Wayne. I've heard you're a huge fan of mine. I actually live 4 doors down from you. I'm like, oh man, Bruce Wayne lives in my neighborhood in this townhouse.
No way.
Yeah, so I was like, man, it didn't even, I'm like, man, that's pretty cool. So he's like, the letter's like, oh, you should come over and blah, blah, blah.
You should come over.
I legitimately went to this guy's house looking for Bruce Wayne, right? Like that, so that was one prank. And
That's
of course,
a good
my
one.
brother's cracking up.
I like that.
So he did that. He did that with my cousin as well. Like my cousin, kind of after the first few years of being here, my cousin used to watch like Dragon Ball Z and all those kinds of shows, right? So my brother had written him a letter too, from I don't know if it was from like he made it from like Cartoon Network or something, and it was like, hey, we've been watching you, like we want to make a show out of you, right? So my cousin is like super excited. So he gets the letter. He goes home to my aunt and is like, look, I got this letter. Like they're making a show.
That's awesome.
My aunt immediately calls my mom and is like, you got this letter. And they start freaking out because they're like, who's watching him? Like, what do you mean? Right. So they're freaking out. Right?
Not good.
So,
Not good.
So and of course they find out then it was my brother, playing that prank.
That's
I told you about the drain there.
Yeah.
There was one point he told me like they used to go in the drain. When I was a kid, I was like, I'm not going in there. It's dark.
Yeah.
So him and my cousin came over from London. So they come out of the drain and they're like, oh man, the Ninja Turtles were in there. And I was like, oh, okay. I went in there searching for the Ninja Turtles. Turns out the Ninja Turtles were not in Malvern.
They're in New York City, man.
I was like, man, I can't believe I fell for that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so we used to do all kinds of stuff like that. Like we would just play outside, and kind of run around. And
I guess having 4 brothers is obviously going to be a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah,
that's cool. I was just like I said, we go to Marsh Creek Lake and we do, we go to, but like that's kind of it as far as like being outside.
Growing up in that area, like in like Malvern or like Great Valley, there wasn't much to do as far as it was just kind of just go play, right?
Right.
Yeah,
It's weird to me. Like I said, like even when I was younger and in like Southern California, there were sidewalks.
Yeah.
Right, sidewalks. I'd kill for a fucking sidewalk around here.
That's true.
Do you know what I mean? Like I could get on my skateboard and go to 7-Eleven,
Yeah.
right, and take $5 and get $5 worth of quarters and play Rampage all day long while I banged down Slurpees and Big Gulps.
There you go. Yeah.
Right, and that's what we did, right? And then your $5 is up, and you skate around the parking lot until somebody kicked you
Oh
out.
man, we used to go to the Exton Mall. There was the Tilt, right, which was like kind of the arcade, and it was right next to Mr. Bulky's.
Mr. Bulky.
Mr. Bulky's was oh man.
No.
All right, so Mr. Bulky's was like a candy store, right? So it was literally
It's a
like
good
across
name
from
for
the
a
Tilt,
candy store.
Exton. So we'd go to the mall with my parents or whatever, and then my mom would go shopping. So my dad would say, "All right, let's go to the arcade." So he'll give us a couple bucks. We go, get some candy,
Right.
get really hyper,
Right,
get
yeah,
arcade games,
yeah.
right? But I still joke around about like anytime me and my brothers go to the mall, I'm like, "All right, guys, let's go to the Tilt," and they're like,
The
"You're
Tilt.
an idiot. There's
That's
no Tilt
awesome.
anymore." Like,
Well, they just put that big.
round.
have you been in there?
Or whatever. I went in there for like 5 minutes with my brothers one time. It looked pretty cool, but
Yeah.
a lot of the games it was weird. It wasn't like we had like arcade games,
Yeah.
right? Of like Golden Axe.
Yeah,
or,
right, oh, yeah.
Mortal Kombat. A lot of them were like.
It's that inner
They
like.
were like the apps on your phone.
Right.
There was a huge like Candy Crush thing, which I was like,
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, my mom would go crazy for that,
That's
but I don't want
nuts.
to, So it was interesting, man. But what about you? Any good? You got obviously a sister, Casey, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't play
There
any
had to be
pranks on
something.
Casey.
You had to have done
No, I'll
something.
tell you one of the best, pranks, I guess maybe summertime pranks that my D line coach at Penn State was crazy. Awesome guy, would do anything for you. A little bit off kilter though, and so I was at my buddy Bill's house, who lived in Indiana, PA. We went back there for the weekend. And again, this is pre-cell phone, right? So I was in college pre-cell phone, and so we're at Billy's place, and for some reason, Buddy, my coach, this is his nickname, his real name is Joe Sarah. Buddy calls Billy's house, and Billy's little sister answers the phone, and he says he's an FBI agent and is looking for me, right? You know what I mean? So Billy's sister kind of freaks out, tells mom, right? And then we were hungover somewhere, drunk somewhere at this point in time, and so we come back, and they're like, they leave this number, right? And so Buddy left the number. I called Buddy back. I don't know what he wanted to tell me, like I took the wrong step on play 18 of the last scrimmage, right? He was rehashing something. But so we go back. So I call my parents and I tell them, right? Or it comes up in conversation, and our neighbor in Virginia Beach was an FBI agent, right? So my dad or my mom goes to their friend and says, "Look, this happened, right?" So like Buddy kind of freaked the little sister out, the family out, you know what I mean? Because it wasn't like, I don't think it was like he was looking for me in a good way, like he was looking for me like to arrest me kind of way. And so my parents get Wayne, their friend, to write an official FBI letter on the letterhead, real envelope, the whole deal about Joe Sarah impersonating an FBI agent.
No
He
way.
freaked out. Absolutely freaked out,
man.
man. I mean, like literally, they sent that to him, and it was like legit. Like hey, we've Mr. Sarah, we've recently come to find out that you've been calling people impersonating an FBI agent.
Oh,
This is a
man.
federal offense. This is what I mean. This is
No way.
yeah, it got him really good. That was a good prank. One of the good ones in the NFL would be when you get fined. The NFL's full of pranks. Some of them are better than others. Some of them are too disgusting to share.
Oh man.
Some of them are really funny. And one of the ones that it got old after a while, but it was, guys would hide like food in your locker, like under your shoes, so it would sit there for a week, and then next thing you know, you're like, oh my god. But in the NFL, on Monday or Tuesday, if you've gotten fined over the weekend, you get a FedEx envelope in your locker from the league office, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the best ones, right? Because especially with rookies, right? You slide that thing in there, you get one of the secretaries to type it up and make it look real, right? And then they freak out because those are some heavy fines, right? That's a lot of money when that thing pops in, and even though you can appeal it, you may bump it down $2,500.
Yeah.
So there's those are good. But you know what? I mean, I'm sure that if Casey were to come on this show, she would have a story or two about something that I did. But I wasn't much of a practical joker. Like I said, it just wasn't my thing. And brother and sister relationships are different, right? You know what I mean? Like I watched like Mary Kate said the other day, like Connor had zip tied Jackson to the basketball hoop. Do you know what I mean? And like you can appreciate that,
Yes,
right? So like
awesome.
I didn't have a brother to do that
Yeah.
to me, right? And I didn't. My sister was young enough. There's big a gap there.
Yeah.
We didn't do that kind of stuff
Yeah.
together, But yeah, so
Yeah.
Mary Kate was like text me like, just found Jackson Connor zip tied him to the basketball.
Tell me she took a picture.
No, unfortunately she didn't. But yeah, it would have been great, right? But those are the kind of things that. It's really cool. I love my family and all that, but like to have a brother, I think is a really unique experience that is
Yeah,
cool.
you can always borrow one of mine, man.
Yeah,
Plenty to go
exactly.
around.
You got plenty of them. I know. I think it's too
Yeah.
late for me to really enjoy the brother thing, but
Well, now I think I'm at the point now where I think I enjoy them more now. Like
Yeah,
we don't-
probably.
You know what I mean? Like we don't. All of us kind of live separately. We all kind of live our own lives,
Right.
But I see them every weekend.
That's cool.
Like we're all going to my little brother's house. He bought a house in Phoenixville a couple years ago, right? So we're all going over there tomorrow. So like we always.
Nice. Is it close to
always
downtown
get together.
Phoenix?
Yeah, it's literally like right
Nice.
over the bridge on
Nice.
Bay Street. Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
That's awesome. So if you live here in the area, go check out Phoenixville.
yeah.
Like it's a really cool.
Yeah, they've changed it so much. since
Really
I was
cool.
out
There's a
there.
bunch of restaurants, a bunch of bars,
Yeah.
some
Go
cool
to
shops.
do yourself a favor. Go to Bridge Street Chocolates. They have the best chocolates.
sounds delicious.
You can buy.
You didn't bring me any today
No.
either.
I actually didn't go see her yet.
I was gonna say, I wouldn't go
Yeah.
considering you can't eat right now.
Yeah,
that
I
might
know. That's
push
all I was
you
like,
over the
"Ooh,
edge.
I don't
Yeah,
know if, yeah.
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it.
She made me some chocolates for Mother's Day. Because I'm one of the types that always forgets, like,
Right.
mother. I was
Yeah.
having a conversation yesterday with somebody, and I was like, "Crap, Father's Day is like next week."
Coming up, yeah.
So I literally called
Kids.
her, and I'm
Kids,
like,
if you're watching this.
there you go.
Father's Day's coming up.
Zip tie them.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I'm still bigger and stronger than everybody here.
Not with all three of you. Combined. You can do it. You can do it. But yeah,
But you said the chocolate's amazing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So they actually got to the point now where there's I guess like this. I'd never heard of it until yesterday. This place called De Bruno Brothers,
Right.
which is I guess like a really upscale like artisanal cheese and deli.
Nice.
almost, right?
I like that. I like cheese.
Yeah, so I heard they have a $98 a pound prosciutto, and I was like, all right, that's right up your alley.
Yeah,
Like, you
it
get-
sounds delicious, but it may
Yeah.
be a bit
Yeah.
expensive.
But so they now sell her chocolates at this store, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, but it's really good. You got to go check it out.
Yeah, Phoenixville's cool. I haven't spent enough time. We drive through it on the way to PF Chang's.
Yeah,
And, and it's one of those things that Mary Kate and I always like, man, we got to come down here just, as adults. And because there's a lot of bars and pubs, there's
Yeah.
a distillery down there. So that was kind of our little local
yeah, it's cool
Plug.
town. Yeah,
for summertime. Because I'm at that point where like my kids are all old enough to be out doing things, but they can't drive themselves anywhere.
yeah,
You're always looking for something to do, something different. And
exactly.
I grew up at the beach, so there was always kind of that thing to do. But here we don't always have that. We got the lake.
Yeah,
In fact, gross story. Last time I went to Marsh Creek Lake State Park, I went paddleboarding, stand-up paddleboarding with the family. I don't usually go in the water.
okay.
I went in the water a few times. It was really, really hot, so I jumped in a couple times and proceeded to get a terrible sinus infection.
Oh no.
Big circle all the way back was the first time I went and saw the witch doctor,
Okay.
Trisha, and she gave me this test that she does, and I had picked up some parasites.
Oh, I remember
Which
that.
is
You were telling me, yeah.
Disgusting, but
Yeah.
that's what made me sick.
Okay. Man, way to
Parasite-
bring that full circle. You See how we did that there?
Exactly. That's storytelling at its finest right there.
Boom.
But yeah, so that's it's just I'm always looking for something for the kids to do, and because I've become the parent that says don't sit around and play video games all day, even
Yeah.
though I was the
Yeah.
child
Yeah.
that would absolutely sit around and play video games all day if
Exactly,
given the
yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah.
I was on we had the Nintendo. We had Atari, then Nintendo, then Sega.
Yeah.
And I remember going out to visit my buddy in California, and we'd go out, and it'd be so hot during the day, we'd go out in the evening to skateboard or swim or whatever, if we weren't going to the beach, and just laying in his room and playing. He had this little tiny, 13-inch TV, right?
Yeah.
And playing whatever the hockey game was on Nintendo, right?
Yeah.
And they had a big fat guy and a skinny guy and a goalie and like a normal guy, right? And you could set your lineup. The skinny guy was fast, but he couldn't shoot very hard. Like it was such a basic, and it was all national teams. It was like Olympic hockey. So it was U.S., China, Russia, whatever. We would play it like literally for 9 hours,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Oh,
And then just close the door.
Yeah.
Make a
Just do
run
that.
down to 7-Eleven, get some candy, and come back and do it some more. Give yourself diabetes. It's insane.
I got a Nintendo 64 roughly around when that came out.
Yeah.
That's whenever that was. But the way I got it, I basically bullshitted my parents, right? Which I'm not proud of, but it's something I look back on now and I laugh, and they still don't laugh.
Right.
But so I had made this deal with my dad. I said, all right, Dad, if this was in middle school, right? I said, look, if I make honor roll, you got to get me a Nintendo 64.
Right.
He goes, all right, deal. He said it without any hesitation. He was pretty much yeah, you have no fucking chance.
Right. There's no way you made it. This is the safest bet I've ever made.
Sure,
Exactly.
Right? And it was literally he's like, I'll even buy you a 13-inch TV to put in your room.
That's
and
awesome.
He was like, oh yeah, okay. So there was no chance. He was right, opposite, right? No chance of me making honor roll. So I hired my friend to make me a fake report card.
No way.
Yeah. So he made me a report card that I took to my parents, and this was in it used to print on the kind of, it was just one giant sheet.
Yeah.
You had to rip it apart and stuff, right? So I take it to my parents. Dad, look, I made honor roll. Let's go buy Nintendo. So he takes me out that weekend. He was probably still in shock. I can't. He probably knew it was it's something's up with this, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
So he buys me a Nintendo, a TV, and put it in my room. So now me and my brothers are just always there.
Did they find out?
Yeah. So apparently, unbeknownst to me, while I was hiring my friend to make this report card, one of my teachers was literally standing behind me listening to the conversation.
No way.
Yeah. And then also, I think they mailed my report card home anyway.
Yeah, they do that.
But I think I got around that where I was like, I'll go check the mail, and just kind of pocket, But yeah, I ended up getting by. I used to do a lot of stupid things when I was
We all
a
do.
kid, right?
That's what
I told one of my teachers I was moving to Pakistan. This is I didn't want to do any homework and shit. I was like, yeah, I would do that, but I'm moving.
Pakistan.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's awesome. Yeah, that's something. Yeah.
A lot of things you do.
Yeah, I'm sure some more of those stories will come out.
Yeah.
That's until we'll save a couple of those for later.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get some alcohol and drink and tell stories at some point.
That's gonna be
That'll be a good show.
Yeah.
So all right. What the hell else was I going to talk about? There was something. So go ahead. You had something.
I got a topic.
All right.
Yeah. So obviously, being a football player, you went to Penn State.
Yes.
Right? So I overheard that HBO is making a movie now about Joe Paterno
Right.
and the whole Penn State
And all the bad
situation.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to get your thoughts on it because obviously I didn't go to Penn State. I don't,
Right.
I don't think HBO did either.
No.
So I'm kind of interested to see first off from a player's perspective, what.
Yeah, it's going to be, I don't know, I was, when I saw it, I was like, well, that kind of makes sense, right, as far as casting goes, right, because Al Pacino is going to play Joe Paterno. I'm interested to see who they're going to get to play me. I better have some sort of...
obviously Matthew McConaughey.
That's what I was figuring, The Rock or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, I like HBO. I like Game of Thrones. I like watching the shows that they have. But I also, I don't know that I'll watch it.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the movie Concussion.
Yeah.
and I don't think they'll get it right. I don't think that they'll.
That's my fear.
I know that my concern is if they were to go in and tell the story, right, without any slant either way,
Exactly.
and maybe that's what they do, then I would say they've done what. I would be okay with that. What I believe is going to happen, because it's a movie, is it's going to get sensationalized and spiced up and dramatized.
Yeah.
If that's a word, I think it is.
Yeah.
And it's going to make everything look really bad, and it's bad enough what happened, but I'm concerned because people will watch it. And as hard as it is to believe, there's a group of people out there that have no interest in college football.
Yeah.
Right? They have no interest in.
They're gonna watch that movie, and that's what they're.
And that's what they're gonna believe, right? Just like those are the same people that when everything broke, that's what they believe about Joe Paterno, right? That's what they believe about the program, and that's what I don't like.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I'm all for the truth, and one of the things that I think that we've got such a fucked up problem in this country is like, fake news, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And you don't know what to believe at all anymore, anyways, right? Like you can get on the TV in the morning and go from MSNBC to CNN to Fox to Headline News to wherever, right? And you're gonna get 3 completely different views of the same fucking story.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I think that that's a problem we have. But so that's my concern. Like I don't really have a problem with them making it. I'm not even optimistic that they're going to do it justice.
Yeah.
I do believe that they are going to go into it with kind of the ESPN slant to it, which is very sensationalized, and maybe they won't. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But yeah, I don't know. I just think it's it's such a touchy subject. It's not.
Yeah, I don't. That's my biggest issue, right? I don't foresee how HBO would be able to play it down the middle.
Yeah.
Right, because they've got to be able to. From the HBO perspective, it's about money, right?
Yeah, it's about ratings.
Who's going to watch what?
Absolutely.
Right? So that immediately is going to make me slant one way or another as far as if I was HBO. Right?
Yep.
So
And they're not going.
biggest-
I can guarantee you, they're not going to slant to the side of the Paterno story.
Yeah.
Right. The good that he didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
The story that the family puts out there.
Yeah.
Or the story that the Sandusky family basically still says he's innocent. I mean, there are a group of people in State College that say that the whole thing was this giant political setup. I mean, it's insane. And again, but that's where you go, what do you fucking believe, right? You've got people over here that can make a decent argument.
Yeah.
You got people over here. The truth is always somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And then you've got a lot of people that don't know shit talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And talking about it very fast. Again, with our news cycle and the way things come out now, let's break it first, right? And we'll figure out if we're right down the road. And I think that's as awesome as it is that you and I can sit in my basement and tell fucking stories and put it out there for everybody to watch to their amazement and think how fucking wonderful these guys are.
Yeah.
Why are they in a basement and not in some fucking TV studio somewhere?
We actually bought a TV studio and renovated it to look like a basement.
Exactly. We're down in Center City right now.
Exactly.
It's some really fancy.
We're in Union League.
Exactly. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. But that's the trade-off, right? The trade-off is people that don't know what the fuck they're talking about or people that know that they're know that they can get bad information out there, can use it too.
It makes it so easy to put it out there, right? I can literally use my phone and just quick clip of some random thing that my opinion about something and kind of almost force it on.
Someone can pick it up and go, oh shit, Riz knows what he's talking about when it comes to
that
this.
That happens a lot.
I know it does, right? And you go, oh, all right, well that must be true, right? And then it turns into the telephone game, right, where you whisper in somebody's ear. By the time he gets around, it's a completely different story.
Exactly.
But so it's like I said, man, it's a tough topic for me emotionally. I don't have a problem talking about it, but I am concerned with what they're going to do because I know what they're going to do, and like I said, it's more. I know what I believe, and I know how I look at the whole thing, and it's not going to change anything that I feel about it.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think it boils down to that idea of the person that knows nothing about that whole situation and what really went on there in the football program.
Yeah.
Right, and I think that's a big differentiator for me.
Yeah.
Is like the football program and then the other stuff, right? The sexual abuse,
Yeah.
the not reporting it, right? That's completely separate from what went on over it, and I'm able to compartmentalize that. And maybe it's because I have to, but it's something that I've been able to do because look, that whole thing didn't change who I am.
Yeah.
Right, and that whole thing didn't change who my friends are and who the guys that I played with there that are now incredibly successful men that have great families, that are good fathers. So and it didn't change the fact that we went out and beat people on the football field, and graduated.
Yeah.
Right, and we came out of there good people. Right, there was a bar fight here or there, maybe some handcuffs every once in a while, and definitely a lot of alcohol drank, but for the most part, I went to school there to play for that guy because I knew that it was going to be hard. We were going to win football games, and I was going to walk out of there with a degree and a better person, right? And that doesn't, the other stuff, the Sandusky stuff, doesn't change any of that for me, right? And it doesn't change, it's like family, right? Like family can do some fucked up things, and you still love them. Right, you may not like them, you may not agree with them, and you may be fucking embarrassed as to what happened or ashamed. But there's still a love there because they're family, right? And that's football and a good program with good people. That's what it is.